Welcome to the Moon God Pod. I'm your host, JwowLax, and with me always is my big man, JwowLax. And today we have Doug L. Doug, welcome to the show. Moon God Extraordinaire. Love your background. Love that Puma Akutar. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you? Really a pleasure to be here.
It's good. It's good. JwowLax, you're up bright and early. Ready to do this?
I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning, so I feel like I have the strength and stamina of 10 men, so I'm really excited. Doug, I truly believe you have a top five MOG with the flower and the yellow. I think it's fantastic.
I was just gonna say that I tried to put that in the middle, like when I made this graphic, and now I'm blocking the whole thing. So there it is if anyone wants to see. But but yeah, it's one. I'm feel really fortunate that I got that one. So
That's great. And so let's just get right from the beginning. Like, what was your introduction? Let's go before Aku, but like, what was your introduction into the NFT space? Like, what onboarded you? What was your first NFT?
yeah. So well, Genesis was my first NFT.
Aku was the first.
It was the first. I was in crypto in 2017 and 2018, and then everything kind of crashed and ignored it for several years, and then 2020 came along, and I noticed that things were happening again in the groups that I had been in, and so I dove back in, started looking at stuff again, and this NFT thing kept coming up in because just conversations, and so I started looking into it, and I noticed Nifty Gateway, and like people had said, everything was doubling then, at least, immediately after you bought it, it was going way up. And so I was like, okay, this looks like an interesting area to be in, to investigate. And so I started watching Nifty Gateway and thinking about buying, but like, most of the projects were just kind of expensive and didn't, it was kind of risky to put in $1,500 and or even $1,000. Or for me at that time, it was a little bit of money more than I thought I wanted to put in on a gamble. So I was watching, and I saw Micah's, Aku Genesis project, and something about it really struck me differently than the other stuff that I was seeing.
Mhm.
And I didn't know the story, but I knew that something was different about it. And I knew that I was reading that it was going to be a series of chapters. So that was already different. I was reading a little bit about Micah, and that felt different than the other artists that were involved. His story was really unique. And so yeah, I took a gamble on it and just grabbed it, and then from there, things just progressed. Like I didn't keep buying a lot of I didn't buy really any other NFTs until I got on the Tezos platform and started buying there, where it's a little different because the gas prices were like nothing, and you could just trade back and forth. So I think it was really difficult for me to convince myself to spend $80 on gas to buy buy something that was a couple $100, or so I didn't really do much on ETH. It was mostly on Tezos after that
Mm.
for a while.
Sure, sure. You mentioned that you were in crypto in 17, 18, and you were there for the downturns. Did you sell? Did you hang in there? Like, what was your strategy during that time?
No, no, I bought most stuff at the high, and and just held on to it throughout the whole thing, and kind of chalked it up as a loss that I was never going to see it again. And for a lot of it, it was a big loss, and for some of it came back later. So yeah, it was just like, okay, that's gone. I'm just going to move on from it.
Yeah, that was a that was an interesting time, and Lovox. That's certainly his entry as far as the Genesis piece, and when you first saw it? Like, you know, you mentioned how it's just different than others. There's a video, you know, it's a video. It's this the audio that component. You know, like I've said on the show before, like when I heard just the audio, like I like kind of driving around, just kind of listening to the audio. Um, was there what at what point, you know, as was it just chapter one, because it discusses what like being a moon god was all about? At what point were you really kind of convicted in the project? Was it right away, or was it like after a certain chapter?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really, I was convicted in holding to see the next chapters. Like that was kind of my strategy, I guess, was to buy the first chapter and hold it and then see if it went up when the second chapter came out, kind of thing, you know? Because I really didn't think that I could afford to buy 10 chapters, you know? And it wasn't really until I got on the Discord in April, a couple months later, that started talking to Micah and started talking to the other people and just, you know, really feeling connected to the people in the project more, you know? And I don't know, there was a single moment when it happened that, yeah, like I'm gonna.
That's a pretty big commitment. Like, okay, you know, before we know that we're going to get free chapters, but like 10 grand to be a moon god, especially early on in the
And I didn't know that I was gonna get free chapters at first, and so like that helped too. Like, because I remember asking that on the Discord, like, or just saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this, you know, like become a moon god, 10 chapters, that's a lot of money. And I remember Micah saying, well, these chapters are free. Um, and, and interestingly, I ended up with two moon gods, you know, two sets.
Mhm.
Like I went in and started buying, I bought another chapter one, and then I bought two chapter twos as a way of like, okay, I have the money now that I can afford to do it, and I'll sell them later, maybe for more money, so that I can get the other chapters. You know, like it was kind of a strategy, but I never sold any, keeping them all and have two sets. So I don't know how I ended up affording to do all that, but like I look back now and I'm like, oh, how did I do that? But I did, and here I am. Yeah.
What other projects are you like I guess we could say bullish or just interested in and invested in?
Um, you know, I've bought into a couple of others along the way that I was interested in. Like I bought what are the I can't even think of the name now. The Angels.
The Bitcoin Angel?
No.
Or,
DH 4321 was involved in a project, Meta Angels.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
And
so
they're really great.
is it
Like it's a woman run project, and it's, you know, it's a great project, and I'm not involved there like I am with Aku, you know.
right? And so that's what I'm kind of curious. Like is mostly your NFT focus just in Aku, or you know, because there was a lot of people, especially you know 2 years ago, that I'm quitting my day job to do NFTs full time, and you know,
Yeah.
of course, a lot of those people have gone back to work. But so that's kind of like did you just kind of jump like big time in, or has it really just been all about Aku for you?
Yeah, I never got to the quitting job part. In fact, I needed my job in order to back in order to keep my habit going. But yeah, I think like for the most part, I was in Aku, and then again, I got involved with a lot of projects on Tezos,
Mhm.
and like a big one that I'm like, really two major projects that I'm involved in are Aku, and then on a totally different realm is Threesomes project on Tezos, and that's just like he paints baseball cards and makes his own teams, and it's very involved, like as far as the mechanics, and you have to show up and be involved, and there's always some utility going on where you're burning cards for something else, and it's a very fun and interesting project that I really enjoy, but totally different realm than why I'm in Aku, you know.
Yeah. Doug, having been in the Aku ecosystem since essentially day one, since you did buy the Genesis chapter, and kind of seeing where we are now, would you consider yourself more of a chapter guy or more of an Akutar guy?
Boy, I don't think I can choose between them because I really love both aspects. I was never really a PFP guy. Like I never really understood the whole like buy something just so I could put it in as my profile picture. Like that never really sold me, which is why I never got into most of the 10,000 PFP projects. Like I didn't really have an interest in them. But you know, Akutars are different because they're not just PFPs, and they're going to have, you know, lots of mechanics in the Akuverse. And so I see a lot more with that than I do with, you know, other PFP projects. And so, and I also really, I think what it comes down to for me is that I'm connected to the narrative, to the story, and it's not really about, you know, the investment so much anymore. Like it's more about I really want to help promote Aku's story, and of inclusiveness, of representation, of you know, dreams coming true, all those things feel really important and helpful, and the reasons why I'm here and why I am connected to this project more than others.
You know, there always is. It seems with people in this community, like there is something that kind of resonates with the individual, like on a personal level, like, you know, whether it's a thought or a background or being represented. Like for you personally, like when, like what is that kind of connection for Aku that really stands out for you?
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways. Like, first of all, I come from a family of activists, my and a very diverse family. I have adopted siblings who are Black and Hispanic, and I have my brother is married to a Native American woman and has my nephew and nephews are Native American, and so representation is very important to me in my life experience, and seeing them grow up, and so you know, that's true in that sense. And so I guess, yeah, it's always been aspect of my personal beliefs and personal, you know, experience, that's something that's lacking in our culture, and something that, you know, needs more addressing. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, see, that's what I was getting at, is like no one, I certainly wouldn't have guessed that, you know, like we all have like this something that resonates when we see and hear about the project, the story, you know. Like for me personally, you know, like I, I'm an only child. I've done a lot of things where like I've had to kind of do them on my own. And so like when I see like the Genesis or see him on chapter 2, like that bit of isolation and, you know, loneliness, but like that drive, you know, to kind of do something, you know, and but you're kind of doing it on your own. Like that's, for me personally, that's kind of how I relate. I find like what's interesting to me is, as important as all of this is, and the movement, and what this project means. Like, is the world kind of ready? Like, I think it's something that the world needs, but like, is the world ready to embrace like a figure like Aku?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the world is ever ready necessarily, you know. I mean, I think about, and this is not to compare Aku to like the civil rights movement in the 60s, but like I grew up, my dad went to, you know, the March on Washington, and I grew up going to civil rights marches and things like that as a kid. Um, and like, you know, the world wasn't necessarily ready for it, but here it is, right? And so you know, what we're doing, you know, I think in some ways there's lots of people are ready for it for sure. And it's not, this isn't as, you know, this is not abrasive or anything like that. It's not something that has to be forced on anybody, you know. I think people are here for it for sure. You know, what really interests me is the work that like DC Welch is doing in schools, you know. I think that's where this work can, this, you know, um, movement can be really effective and really help people is in the schools, and in the way that people like DC Welch are doing it, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's really something you asked, like what got me committed to this project, and that was part of it. Like when I stopped in the Discord in April of a year and a half ago, you know, he was already working with Aku in his school, and so it was just, I was like, wow, this is already happening. This is already going on, and I want to be part of this, you know. So yeah, that's.
So when people say you introduce folks into Aku and hey, this is Aku and this is a movement that I'm a part of and it means a lot to me. What is that? How do you explain that to folks? Like, how do you explain what is your, you know, your 2 minute this is Aku speech?
Well, I think the main thing is I don't normally mention NFTs at all. I mention the character, I mention the story, I mention, you know, Micah's nephew asking if astronauts can be black, and I feel like that's what's important about it for me. That's what drew me in. Not that it was, I mean, originally that it was an NFT, but I feel like this whole project lives outside of the NFT space as well, and that's really where you know, the NFT space is a tool, and it's something that is used to build this character. But you know, in the end, I think it's going to be Web 2, Web 3, both together that make this something big and special. Like, just again, speaking of DC Welch and what he's doing in the schools, that doesn't take it being an NFT to do that. You know, it takes someone wanting to do something good for kids. You know, so that's what I see. I usually talk about those aspects of it more than, oh yeah, I'm in an NFT, because so many people have you know, negative response to NFTs or some kind of imagination of what it means to be in NFTs. So I don't usually lead with that so much.
Right. Well, now we're trying to rebrand it as digital collectibles, and it's funny because, like, TikTok was originally Musically, and then it becomes TikTok, and it's like the number one platform. So, word choice and word changes can have profound effects. We've discussed at the very beginning how just crisp your moon god is, and with the moon god comes IP rights. This is this is new for us, like, as far as we recently, it's been only like a month or two that we've really kind of been granted this. We talk about utility within the NFT space and kind of ownership and commercial rights. What do you think about this with the moon god, and do you have any plans or ideas that you're like looking for your moon god?
No, I'm not really focused in that direction, I guess. I think it's great that people are, and really I think that that's going to help, spread this movement and spread this, Aku's message in some ways. And I was kind of in my mind, a proponent of like Micah keeping the IP, and I'm glad he's done that with Aku itself, because I feel like the difference here between this and like Bored Apes or some other, um, NFT is the narrative, is the story that is behind it, and so um, keeping that intact is, I think, important in some ways, at least at this stage of the building of this. I think I guess I don't want it to get watered down. Like I want that message to be clear, because that's what drew me in, is that message. So to think about that getting watered down in all sorts of different directions, feels like that might take away from what I actually came in for.
I'm with you. I think the IP is very strong, and especially when we mention collaborations with Disney and all the brand partners, I think it's really exciting. I guess one critical question I have from you is, everything that we have going on, do you think there's anything we can do better as a community in regards to engaging outside folks?
I mean, I think just things like what you guys are doing is great. I think that's what's going to really propel this, is community getting active in talking about it and sharing what's going on with other people. I have always been a proponent of like organic growth, right? Like I feel like we could hype it and it could get like, big for a little while, and then it could just crash, but if we build it organically, if people, like, again, like you got what you guys are doing, what DC Welch is doing, people that really believe in it are sharing, what's going on and why they believe in this, and that's what's going to bring new people in. And it might be a slower growth, it might take a while to build up, and that's okay. Like I'm here for the ride. So uh people come into our community and they know that it's special and it's different, just by the way that we interact with each other, right? Like Dower MFer was saying in his interview, that like he felt the difference in being in our Discord, and I was glad that I could be a part of that, because I think that it's not just me, it's like all the mods and even the community, the Acketeers and you guys and everybody, the way we interact with each other, it's not the same as other Discords, and it's not the same as other communities, and it's loving and it's family, and we care about each other. So I think that, in alone draws new people in,
I think that, when you really look at the timeline, like we were still in, kind of the grips of the whole pandemic. People were still kind of isolated. There was a great release that we were getting. I mean, just if you look at, I never heard of Discord, until I came into this space. At one point, Clubhouse was like, really popular. Now we've got Twitter Spaces, and there was this new opportunity to kind of connect despite being disconnected from the world. And I think that that was something that kind of fueled just the NFT space in general. And I think also Aku is a very positive space, and there's a lot of places that are very toxic. What I'm getting to with this is that now that we're kind of out of the COVID, like now we're kind of back whatever normal is. Was that kind of the driving force maybe uh, for like part of this space, or is this just another example of like 99% of these projects are probably going to go to dust, but the ones that are building and are really strong, survive and will be here for the long call?
I'm sorry. What was your question?
Oh, sorry. I'm just do you think that there is like that kind of like that was kind of a situation that really kind of really bonded us together, like just how we were kind of isolated and with the pandemic in the whole NFT space. And now I guess like I'm kind of concerned, like as we kind of go back out and we get back to normalcy, like is that gonna hurt everything as well?
I don't know. I don't think so. In fact, I think that might actually make things stronger. I mean, I know after Miami, I felt closer to a lot of people who I met there, and even this summer, I got to visit Glitch in New York City and visit Lawson in North Carolina on my way driving north, and yeah, I just feel like the in-person contact just creates stronger bonds in a way, Um,
What,
I,
what's been your best Aku moment, like for you personally? Like what's been the thing where you like if you have to pick one Aku moment for yourself, real life, or even it could be like just a Discord conversation.
oh man. I mean, there's been so many. Like, I can't really narrow it down to one. That's
Well,
mean.
give a favorite
um,
or two. None of the moments will be jealous.
I mean, I guess like, boy, I guess like becoming a mod was definitely a special moment for me, being part of that team. You know, so that's definitely a special moment. Being in Miami and actually, you know, sitting at a table with Glitch and DC Welch and Sturpan and um, uh, uh, DH 4321. Like just seeing what lovely people they are. Like really genuine, authentic um, people they are. I think it just embodies uh, everything that a coup is. And like I saw that same thing. I think we all did with Micah in that speech he gave after after everything happened with the Akutars. And for me, that moment like made things stronger. It made things even more authentic and real, and that vulnerability really solidified my belief that I was in the right place. Like obviously, for a lot of people, I think that was like uh, hurt to like, is the project going to succeed? Lots of questions came up around that, and that's reasonable. But I think like overall, like watching the response to that, both with Summer and Micah, you know, as people made me believe in them even more, even more than I had. And not that I even had any doubt before that, but just like it solidified what, what I had already seen. And the same is true like with the people that I met in person. And that's why I think like meeting people in person is just going to solidify all those things that we see online about them. I don't know. I have some experience with that. Just I am a big fan of the band Phish, Phish, and I've been on online communities with them since the late '90s. Like they were one of the first online communities out there. Before Facebook and all that stuff, there was online Phish communities. So, getting to see people a couple times a year at, at shows, and then being online with them. Definitely have an in-person online relationship with people for years, and feeling like I know them in person when I meet them, even after not ever meeting them before in person.
Yeah.
So.
It's a different time, but it's been around, like I definitely was in the AOL chat room days, and I wasn't in the fish chat, but I got catfished a couple times. So as a mod, take us behind kind of the curtain of a mod. Like what do I know there's certain things you can't really talk about, but like how involved is it? And what's kind of like a challenge that you face, especially like with the new people coming in?
You mean new users, new
Yeah.
Discord members? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I feel like I haven't faced the challenges that the other mods have faced, because became a mod after all the 50 gateway stuff, or the Akutar stuff happened. My journey has been pretty I guess easy in that sense. Like, I haven't had much of the real intense moments that I think I can imagine happened before that. Um, so so yeah, I feel like I've had an easy ride as far as that goes. But you know, with like minor exceptions, the Discord's pretty easy because people are so
Everyone jumps on it and engages, right?
yeah, people see
Makes it
the energy in there and they join in, and there's enough people who have been there a while and know what's going on, that it's rare that one of us has to step in. And so when you talk about new members, there's the people that come in and they go right to the support tickets and ask for a collab, and that's fine. We talk to them or whatever. But and then there's people who come in and you can tell right away that they're posting a scam or something like that, and we delete it. But yeah, we welcome the new people coming in, and we want them to have the experience that we had, right? We want them to know that they're part of the family, even if they don't have an Aku or Akutar yet, that they're already part of something just by being there. Like,
So
I
Doug,
think of
oh, go ahead.
I
Sorry,
think
go
of
ahead.
Ken Borey, and he was there for a long time, and would just come in and talk, and he didn't have an Akutar or a chapter yet, and he stuck around and stuck around and stuck around and finally bought something, but it didn't matter. Like, I still felt like he was part of the community even before he bought anything.
So Doug, I'm going to set the stage for you. It is November 23rd, 2027. You just finished at a magnificent Fish concert. Like, it was amazing. It was one of your all-time favorites. You got home, you're sitting down, and your Aku helmet is sitting next to your laptop. What does Aku look like 5 years from now?
I hate this question. I'm just gonna say that. I, I I don't know. Like, I try to just like take it, because I feel like everything that's been done so far has like exceeded my expectations. Like, where we are right now is so far ahead of anything I expected, back when I first bought the first chapter. Like, even just having Akutars be released and how amazing they are, like, I never expected that. And then to have them built in Unreal Engine and be like, these things that we're going to use in the Akuverse, I know we talked, there was stuff talked about, but I didn't think it was going to happen so soon, that we have cribs going on right now already. And so just watching it all unfold, I feel like, I don't know. I don't really have an expectation there. I just know that whatever it is going to be amazing because the people building it are amazing. Like we have the best people involved as far as I can tell. People like Spiros, who's been involved with Star Wars and other film stuff, and people like Dirk and JB, and there's so many people who are just like the top-notch people in their fields, who are involved in this. So I can't really make a prediction of what it's going to look like, but it's going to be great. Is all I can say.
What vertical would you like to see like really hit first? Like, because that's one thing about Aku is there is a lot of different verticals, but like, which vertical is the most exciting that you'd like to see happen sooner than later?
I mean, honestly, like the part that I'm most excited about is still the educational aspects of it. Like I know it flies under the radar and we don't talk about it much, and it feels like DC Welch and a couple other teachers are doing stuff in the background, but I go in there and I get so inspired by what they're doing, and that's like what I would love to see more energy put into, and not that I think that anything's out of balance right now or anything like that, but just like that's where I get excited more than some of the other stuff that I think other people are more excited about, the Aquaverse and Disney and things like that, which are also exciting. I don't want to, say that stuff's not exciting, but for me personally, when I see what's going on with the community and the things that community is doing and the chance to have it affect children and be a really inspirational character, in that way, is inspiring to me. And I think they work well together because like the fact that Disney is picking up on Aku is going to make that even stronger in the schools too, right? Like they don't live apart from each other, so I don't want to separate them either.
So
yeah,
we're kind of running short on time, but you were a little concerned before we started about like diving into like sports talk. Well, we have one topic that trumps all sports talk, and that I think is one of the most important for Lovox and I's education. You're from originally like New York, but now you live in Gainesville, Florida. I have been to Gainesville for a football game. We know like in Miami, it is Cuban influenced. What is like the go-to food that is like, unique to Gainesville, Florida? Because I feel that part of Florida gets overlooked a lot.
Oh boy, go-to food?
Yeah.
That's weird. Like if you had said, because I'm from Binghamton, New York area,
Okay.
and like Speedies, I don't know if you ever heard of Speedies, but they're like marinated pork or chicken and they make it, skewer it and barbecue, and that would be like my go-to in that area growing up. But let me think that like a food down here. I can't really think of anything like unique as far as like almost everywhere else I live. I guess that's interesting to think about because I lived in Maryland for a while, and like crabs were, with Old Bay seasoning and stuff. That was like the thing. Boy. Yeah, I'll probably think about it like right after we get off the thing.
We'll have to post it in the comments. People,
right? I'll have to share it later.
On the edge of their seat.
Look for that later.
That's
someone's gonna tell me. Someone's gonna like message me and say, what do you mean you didn't say this or that?
All right. Yeah. So since we kind of got stumped there, back to like kind of Lovox's 5-year question. 5 years from now, Aku does everything that we want, and it's kind of a celebratory moment for us. And you get to take that one trip. It's not necessarily like a trip, it can't be a place that you've been to, but like kind of like this strange bucket list thing that maybe no one else has thought of. Like, but you're going to take this trip because you got to see it. Like, whether, it could be the pyramids, the Great Wall. Where is that vacation you're taking that you just haven't gotten around to?
Oh man, I gotta pick one.
Well, I'll give you one and an honorable mention.
Because there's so many places that I would like to go, it's interesting, like, again, thinking about community, like I think if you had asked me this prior to being involved with this, there's places that I would really love to visit, like India. I would, different parts of India I would love to go to that I've never been there. Or Vietnam, I've thought about going to before. But like right now, if I had to go somewhere, I'd probably go visit some of my mod friends in Netherlands or Ireland or England, those places. Like that's where I think about going now. Like, oh yeah, I'll go visit these people that I feel connected with now. So it's interesting that that would change my plans too, just the community that I've been involved with.
Yeah, that's great. Well, LoveVox, we're winding down. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I've got one more. Doug, I know you mentioned activism means a lot to you. Can you speak to some of the groups you're involved in now? Kind of as my closing question.
Yeah, I'm not like so involved right now in any specific groups. I feel like my family has been really involved in activism over the years, and I have been involved, but more on the sidelines. I guess I would say more of a cheering on kind of activism. But like my mom, she's 80. What is she? 86 now or something? 88? I don't know. She's up there in years now, and she 86. She's 86. And she, a couple of years ago went to Standing Rock and in the winter and protested the pipeline that was going through there. And just she's been arrested I don't know how many times just for trying to save some trees, and I think it's it's inspiring and it's beautiful to watch her do that. And I feel a little bit guilty for not joining that fight in sometimes in the ways that she has, but yeah, just like I've grown up around it my whole life, and I appreciate that is my influence in the world. And I think one way that I try to, I guess, like express that influence in my life is I'm a massage therapist, and I try to express it more as loving kindness towards people, like helping clients through creating a space for them that they can be vulnerable and they can be more embodied in the world. And so I feel like mine is a more maybe less confrontational activism than either my parents were, or my dad passed away a while ago, but either my parents they've been pretty active throughout my whole life. So
well, we always wrap the show up on a note where we appreciate you. You were actually requested by many of the other guests we've already had. So who would you like to see on the Moon God Pod? And the caveat is that you have to be able to help us get them on.
Well, I have two people that I would love to see on. I'll have more. I have a lot of people I would love to see on, but just because I was talking about DC Welch like this whole time, I would love it if he was on the cast. And then I would like to hear Rusty and what they have to say as well, because I think that they have interesting, rich background too, and love to hear their perspective. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you being on, Doug. And I think I think that's the coolest answer to the travel question, and how things change, like it's not about necessarily seeing or experiencing, something. It's about the people, and that's a true gift that Aku's given you and us. And I think that's awesome. For everybody at home, we really appreciate when you like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. It certainly helps our channel grow, but more importantly, it helps Aku grow. So if you've watched this long, I know you're a fan. And if you could always, help us out and spread the word, that's how we get this show out there and how we can spread the word of Aku. For Lovox, Doug L., I'm JwowLax, and we will see you next time.